Good morning, informed audience. Welcome to another podcast educating men on their rights as it regards domestic violence, intimate partner stalking, and civil rights as it pertains to law enforcement. I want to say, biased and times racist motive to deny innocent men their rights. So, today we are here to discuss what makes someone a domestic violence victim. And the reason I am doing this is because unfortunately I am being stalked by an ex-girlfriend of mine who seems to be obsessed with falsely labeling me for allegations that I was completely acquitted of multiple times. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm tired. I am not a man who is looking for anything to do with this woman. I have tried to comfortably move away from this situation for years. But hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, audience. And when someone truly hates you and wants to destroy you, they will do whatever it takes. They will go through any lengths, and they will waste any amount of time of their own life to accomplish that goal. Today we discuss my psychotic girlfriend Francina Evans, who has been on a campaign of sorts to defame me, to slander me, to annoy and harass me, and violate a final restraining order that was lodged against her over 3 years ago. Francine is able to do this because of the disparities in law enforcement as it pertains to minority men or men in general. Men can't be victims of domestic violence as it pertains to law enforcement because law enforcement feeds off of the false arrests and the prosecution of men throughout the judicial system, especially black men. I am an African American male from Staten Island, and I will admit to my audience I do have a past criminal record. My past criminal record from 20 years ago makes it impossible for the racist white district attorney of Staten Island to think I could ever be victimized in any capacity. So this racist, decrepit, I want to say erectile defunctive piece of crap that he is, has decided to deprive me of all victim rights, even though I am the legitimate trial ordered victim of a domestic violence final restraining order against Francina Evans, the woman who I have named multiple times who has been stalking and harassing me for years. Lately, this woman has taken to TikTok because she has run out of all other legal options, considering that I've won in every court in every jurisdiction that we've been in. She finds herself before the Superior Court of New Jersey facing jail time for violating the order of protection. So Francine is desperate. In a last ditch attempt, I want to say, try to derail me, um, rile me, maybe get me to overreact so she can get some type of leverage with the police because the police need me as a black man to do something to her in order for them to harm me. They've already falsely arrested me too many times to falsely arrest again, and they're facing federal civil litigation. So all of Francina's efforts to use the police in New York and New Jersey have been nullified because of the lawsuits that are legitimately lodged against state prosecutors in the states of New York and New Jersey themselves. Francina Evans has stalked me between two states in 6 counties for the past 3.5 to 4 years. And ladies and gentlemen, I have provided substantial proof to prove this. Today, we're going to examine the true nature of victimhood of a domestic violence victim. And we're going to look at the specific question, excuse me, which is this. Can a person still be classified as a victim of domestic violence when they've won every domestic violence, I want to say, legal action posed against them, when every allegation against them has been dismissed, when they've never physically assaulted the person that they dealt with, when they never verbally assaulted this person while they dated them? And when the person who claims to be a victim is actually on tape admitting that they lied on this person, that their mother was stalking them, and that they were in love with the person and begging this person to stay with them again. Now, the reason I use such specific examples is because this is exactly what happened with Francina Evans. Francina Evans was dumped because her mother, Laura Owens, a New York City teacher working out of Wagner High School, Staten Island, was stalking her ex boyfriend. Now, some might say, why was her mother stalking her ex boyfriend? Why would this woman's 70-year-old mother be stalking the ex boyfriend of her daughter? It may seem like this mother thought that maybe I wasn't a good catch for her daughter. That could be fine. She's entitled to do that. But I would have to be doing something specifically to be labeled not a good catch for any woman's daughter. And I don't think being good to her not coming home for days because she truthfully wants to with her boyfriend, her being happy with her boyfriend to the extent where she no longer wants to spend weekends and things like this with her mother. I could assume this would bother the mother to such an extent that she might become a little jealous of the man who has taken her baby girl against from her. And this is what happened with me. Laura Owens was a bitter woman who had been single for 50 years and had been raising her kids the entire time, which is absolutely no disrespect to her. Her daughter had become her life, and she lived vicariously through her younger, beautiful daughter. So, and when I originally started dating Francine, I hung out with the mother and the grandmother a lot. For those of you who know me, you know that I met Francine literally when my mother died. So, in a state of grief and in a state of like, just needing people, I gravitated to these women thinking that they were genuine and that they really cared about me and cared about my well being and me getting over the fact that I had found my mother recently dead on the floor. But Francina might have cared. Her mother did not. Her mother manipulated the situation to stay close to me because the mother realized how much Francina liked me. Now, in the beginning, this worked because I, being in grief and looking for love and looking for attention from older women like my mom, who, was intelligent, who was great to be around, I allowed this woman to be around me and embraced her as such, as an older woman who I respected like a mother and who I wanted to be around. People, I tried to take this woman on vacations. Ladies and gentlemen, I took this woman to dinner multiple times. I hung out with this girl's mother. People, I had a genuine love for this girl's mother, and I was not dating her. I did not want to date her. I just wanted to be her friend. I was looking for family, people, because it's something I didn't have. In any event, people, sometime during the course of me looking for family, Francina Evans starts to like me, and I am pressured by her mother and her when I'm cornered in her living room. I believe it was during March of 2021. And the mother tells me Francina likes me and we're in love and I have to date her. People say they literally pressured me into dating Francina. This is the truth. I did not want to date her. I was a great friend of hers. I respected that friendship and I didn't want to lose that friendship because the relationship went bad. And I knew it possibly could. I've dated hundreds of women. Eventually, it did go bad. And because it went bad, like you have seen from the videos on my page, Francina began to stalk me. Francina began to stalk me because I would not wait for her to find a way to deal with her mother. And people, you don't have to think I'm a lie. She's actually on tape admitting this. She admits to dozens of people that this happened. But first, let's examine what really makes a domestic violence victim, because I believe that's what I was talking about. So let's go there first. Okay, audience, here goes my screen, bop, 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 and we're gonna blow it up. So I like to do things simple. I asked ChatGPT to give me a brief description of what legally classifies someone as a victim of domestic violence. And here's the AI's answer. A person is legally classified as a victim of domestic violence when they have suffered physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, or economic abuse from someone with whom they have had an intimate relationship, family relationship, or shared household. This typically includes current or former spouses, dating partners, cohabiting partners, family members, or others who live or lived in the same household. The abuse must involve a pattern of coercive control or specific incidents of violence, threats, intimidation, stalking, or other harmful behaviors intended to maintain power and control over the victim. Legal definitions vary by jurisdictions, but most require documentation through police reports, medical witness testimony, court orders, such as restraining orders to formally establish victim status for purposes of legal protection, services, or prosecution of the abuser. So, people, that is the only way legally you can be classified as a domestic violence victim, is you have to have those criteria. And if you notice at the bottom, having a final restraining order legally makes you the victim in any domestic dispute you have between another person who is named as the defendant in that order. It doesn't matter if that defendant is a man and is that defendant is a man and the plaintiff is a woman. It doesn't matter if the plaintiff is a man and the defendant is a woman. Whoever has the trial ordered final restraining order as it relates to every domestic violence statute in the country and federal domestic violence law is the domestic violence victim. There is no way to go around that just because you might not happen to like the man has the final restraining order. So, people, the question now becomes, can Francina Evans, can any person continue to accuse someone of domestic violence offenses if those offenses have been acquitted and the person has been judged to be innocent and the matter has been decided that the other person, the party who's claiming to be a victim, is the domestic violence offender? So, Here's the answer to that question: no. Being named as a defendant in a final restraining order means the court has determined that the person committed acts of domestic violence against the protected party, not the reverse. A final restraining order is issued only after a court hearing where evidence is presented and the judge finds by a preponderance of the evidence that domestic violence occurred. The defendant in such an order is the adjudicated perpetrator, not the victim. If the defendant continues to contact, harass, and make accusations against the protected party after a final restraining order is issued, they are violating the court order and committing additional criminal acts. This behavior, ignoring the court's determination and continuing to engage with or accuse the protected party, actually demonstrates a pattern of harassment and control that supports the original finding of abuse. Courts view violation of restraining orders seriously, and such conduct typically results in criminal charges, not recognition of the violator as a victim. The protected party remains the recognized victim, and any continued contact and accusations by the defendant would likely seem as further victimization and a contempt of court. So, what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? Put quite simply, what that means, put quite simply, is that if Francina Evans, my ex-girlfriend, or we'll even take myself, if I am named in a final restraining order after a trial where both sides are allowed to present evidence and I am triumphant by a preponderance of the evidence, the judge decides that, wait a minute, he's telling the truth and this person is not, legally, I am the victim of the domestic violence dispute with Francina Evans. That is just the truth. Now, again, if she continues to accuse me and say he abused me, he stalked me, he coercively controlled me, and these allegations were dismissed before the court, legally speaking, Francina is violating the order of protection by continuing to harass me. This is what's going on in my life that law enforcement officials are pretending is not the case because I'm a black man. See, organizations, institutions like the Richmond County DA's office of Staten Island, with a history of systemic racism, do not acknowledge black men as victims. We can be bank robbers, we can be drug dealers, we can be criminal defendants, people, but we cannot be victims, even when we have legality behind us. Now, many people might remember several years ago, I was arrested because Francina allegedly accused me of stalking her. After I was arrested, people, the Staten Island Richmond County District Attorney's Office actually put my ex-girlfriend on the stand and honored her as a victim of domestic violence. Now, people, she was facing multiple felony charges. She had multiple orders of protection against her, people, and she had just lost the appeal trying to get the very final restraining order I'm talking about dismissed. But despite all of that criminality against her, your local district attorney of Staten Island, Michael McMahon, put this woman on the stage and honored her as a victim of domestic violence. And I would like to show my audience this because, people, I believe it's highly important to show the truth in matters like this.
Coercive control is abuse.
As my best friend for the past 14 months. I was forced to relocate from my home for safety.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a video made by Francina Evans where she was honored by the Richmond County DA's office at St. John's University. What they did was allow this woman to give this speech before dozens of people, covered by New York One and covered by the media, where she continued to lie and tell people that I was stalking and abusing her. Now, again, people, at the exact time that Francina gave this speech, representing the Richmond County DA's office, she was facing felony charges in the state of New Jersey. She had lost the appeal to the final restraining order, and there were multiple orders of protection against her, people. But your local DA, the man who wants you to trust him, the man who wants you to believe that he's truly about the rights of all of the constituents of Staten Island, he wanted you to believe that this woman was a victim. So what he did to you was he falsified a narrative and he allowed this convicted liar to tell this story.
Home for safety and step down from parents. I cannot even accept a full-time job right now due to the litigation abuse consuming the majority of my time, and not to mention finances.
Now, here's the truth. You heard what she just said. She couldn't get a job because of the litigation abuse. At the exact time of this speech, people, I had filed no police reports against her. I was facing charges because she had lied on me in the states of New York, New Jersey, and to the family courts of multiple counties. So the litigation abuse that she's telling everyone that she was facing, people, I was actually facing. And that's the masterful manipulation of this woman. The things that she's doing to me, she's lying, telling people I'm doing to her. And that's the actual crime here. So, people, I don't even like hearing her voice. So let's get out of that because we know that she actually said it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have this woman all over social media telling people she can't have children because she's trying to legalize a breakup. Let's talk about breaking up. Now, the term breaking up comes from when two people come together. And that primarily is a dating situation. Two people come together, they like each other, they start to date to see if something serious can develop. The more serious actions that develop, of course, are marriage. Marriage is the only legal union recognized anywhere, people. Sometimes we have things called common law marriages and common law relationships, but that requires two people to live together for an extended. I dated Francina Evans less than 6 months. We never lived together. I never even had sex with her without a condom, people. I don't understand where she gets the idea that she was in a legal relationship. But for some reason, this woman thinks that she has to legalize me dumping her. Now, again, people, we have to look at stalking. Stalking is unwanted contact from one party to another, meaning they're calling them, they're stalking them online, they're stalking them in person, they're trying to get in touch with other members. All that all encompasses stalking. People, I'm not doing any of that. I've never called this woman. I damn sure don't want to talk to none of her friends and family. People, I'm not because she keeps coming after me and lying on me. So again, by definition, I can't be stalking this woman. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we deal with when we deal with domestic violence and truth. We deal with women, and the more beautiful they are, the more dangerous they are. We deal with women's ability to lie on men and get away with it. Because of the truth of the situation, which is that prosecutors and law enforcement overall want to prosecute men, or the most likely person who will be able to pay violence in criminal disputes becomes the target of law enforcement because of the need of law enforcement to parasitically feed off of innocent people. This is what I have been going through, facing the multiple false allegations, the numerous dismissals that I've won fighting the untruthful allegations of Francina Evans. People trying to get my order of protection, which is a valid lifetime restraining order enforced against Francina, simply to have this woman leave me alone. People, domestic violence restraining orders are party to give them the one thing that they cannot receive on their own, which is the right to be left alone, people. If I am the protected party, and people, you've been watching my podcast, although I may be angry, although I might have used profanity, my message is the same. I want Francina Evans to leave me the hell alone. I want this pattern of abusive litigation that I can prove with police reports, with a timeline, people, that supports every allegation, every police report, every trail of litigation Francina has filed on me. People, all of these boxes are reports that Francina successfully filed to lodge actions against me in family court, in criminal courts, in the counties of New Brunswick, in the counties of Carteret, because Carteret's a county, and in the county of Richmond County, Staten Island. We have three different jurisdictions here in two states where this woman has filed at least 12 to 15 police reports and petitions against me. And people, if you look at the top, I won the order of protection. How did I win the order of protection and all of this happened? People, how do I win an order of protection after a woman does all of this? People, again, this is Francina doing all of this to have me re-prosecuted because I won the order of protection, the box at the top of this. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who did not believe I won an order of protection and I am the protected party of this dispute, I am going to show you that order of protection. Well, hopefully, I do have it up here. There we go. Here is that order of protection, ladies and gentlemen, which names me, Clayton Howard, as the protected party of the domestic violence dispute with Francina Evans. My daughter is named as the protective party, An additional 1,000 feet was put on Francina to stay away from me and my infant child at all times, people. How am I stalking Francina Evans with a document like this against her? Ladies and gentlemen, Francina tells you that she never filed multiple charges on me. Well, people, let's prove that lie. People, right here from the state of New Jersey, we have the order of protection application filed by Francina Evans on October 6th of the year 2021. People, in this box, in the center of the screen, Francina accuses me for allegedly falsely reporting her for child abuse. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to show you because I like to show paper trail. See, I'm not Francina who tries to talk to you and put on a bunch of makeup so you listen to her. No, people, I'm going to show you documents. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I go and I do this, she put all of those allegations down. Remember, people? So she puts allegations down that allegedly I falsely accused her of child support. Well, ladies and gentlemen, those allegations were dismissed before the family court of Essex County. In retaliation for me getting these allegations that I falsely accused her of child abuse dismissed in family court, what Francina did was travel to the borough of Staten Island where she's connected to the racist district attorney Michael McMahon, and she lied on me. The NYPD and Staten Island DA's office fabricated a police report based off police incidents that happened before Francina ever had an order of protection, which is 100% a violation of my process and my civil rights. And they framed me for a criminal prosecution so Francina Evans would be granted the domestic violence rights that she lost when this order got dismissed, so she would be granted those rights back in a New York order of protection because once this order of protection got dismissed, Francina no longer had domestic violence privileges. She no longer had a no contact order. When this order was dismissed, she lost the no contact protection order she had. So she went to Staten Island. She refiled the allegations claiming that I falsely accused her of child support, and Staten Island, in its capacity to be the racist institution it is, you see 12-5. If you look at the New York side, you see 12-5. That's the police report she filed that ultimately got me arrested for being for being the protected party legally of an order of protection. Audience, you cannot be a victim of domestic violence if the person who you're accusing has a protective order against you. If that protective order has been affirmed on appeal, if you've tried separate ways to get different aspects of the order dismissed and you've lost all around, people, the protected party of an order of protection is not the offender. The defendant is. If Francina Evans is named as the defendant in multiple domestic violence orders, people, how is she a victim of domestic violence? People, she was never physically assaulted. She tells you that in recordings in her own words, how she was never assaulted and how her mother and family was stalking her ex-boyfriend. You clearly hear the conversation with me, the ex-boyfriend, being tired of the family and breaking up with her because she was too weak to stand up to them. People, again, I got to ask you a question. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, is it a duck? The answer is yes. If this girl is on the phone begging her ex-boyfriend to stay with her, admitting that the family, her family, was jealous of the ex-boyfriend and stalking and harassing him, if she's admitting that the ex-boyfriend is so disgusted with her he's going to leave her, and confessing that she doesn't know what she has to do to get him to stay with her, again, ladies and gentlemen, how is the boyfriend the domestic violence offender? How is the man being stalked? How is the man being lied on? How is the man being maliciously prosecuted by a woman who falsely claimed she was assaulted and admitted it on tape? How is he a domestic violence victim? See, people, men are constantly accused of allegations of domestic violence that they did not do. And because society does not want to grant us the victimhood that we may rightfully deserve, we go through things like I'm going through, where we're victims of harassment, defamation, financial warfare, where these women are trying to destroy our ability to take care of ourselves simply so because we don't want to be with them. People, intimate partner stalking and domestic violence is real when you deal with an offender like Francina Evans. A calculated, intelligent woman so obsessed with revenge she doesn't even care whether or not she perjures herself, as long as she hurts the man who broke her heart. Breaking up is not a crime, which was an excellent slogan for Francina if she was telling the truth. What she did was manipulate hundreds of people by telling you breaking up was not a crime, but she actually criminalized her ex-boyfriend dumping her. People, listen to the recordings. Read the text messages where she's literally telling me if I don't sign over shares of a business, she's not going to give me back my dog. But she's lying, telling everyone I gave her the dog for Christmas. And these text messages are 3 months after Christmas. People, you can't give someone a dog for Christmas and then they're trying to use it to blackmail you for shares of your business 3 months later and telling you the dog is yours in the same text messages. But people, this is the power that a beautiful woman has over ignorant, dumb people. They can lie through their teeth. They can tell people whatever they want. And because the girl's face is kind of pretty, people want to believe her. Nobody wants to check the facts, which is a common mistake that ignorant black people have made for generations. This is how we're constantly manipulated and people take advantage of us. Because instead of us looking into the truthfulness or the totality of a situation, we believe the first thing we see because we're too busy to read, open a book, and educate ourselves to the truthful situation. People, just because I'm strong, just because I can articulate myself, just because I can get aggressive, these are all qualities I've had to learn being a black man in America whose rights have been ignored since I was a child. People, I have no victim rights. Look at the order of protection. Look at the fact that I can prove that this woman has lied to the district attorney of Staten Island, and the racist institution of this place will not arrest her because they made the mistake of honoring her and they don't want the public ridicule that's associated with the fact they honored the woman who is actually stalking the man she made a speech about. Think about that, people. Think about the embarrassment of a local district attorney who honored a woman as a victim of domestic violence only to have to arrest her for stalking her ex-boyfriend for the entire time, people. This is the news story that the Staten Island Advance really should report, people, but instead they're reporting about crackheads. Instead, they're reporting about crackheads with drug paraphernalia in the drawer that they were smoking crack 15 minutes ago. Staten Island Advance report about the misconduct of the local district attorney's office, how they set up innocent minorities, how they falsify narratives for the community, tell stories about the truthful things going on in the community. Ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching 30 minutes, so I gotta go. But hopefully this broadcast was enough, people. I am a victim of Francina Evans. And people, I have to keep fighting her. I have to keep fighting her until I find a solid way to get this woman to stop. Because hell hath no fury like a woman scorn people. And clearly I unleashed hell on myself when I deaded Francina Evans and broke up on her. So now in the quest to dig myself out of the hellish nightmare I created, people, I had to educate myself and find a way to fight her to stop her from what she's doing. I don't think I've been as successful as I think, people, but the only thing I can do is positively try. I have to try. I can't give racism in law enforcement and bias in law enforcement an excuse to villainize me because I snapped on this woman who they won't protect me against. And I believe strongly that's what they want. They want me to snap on Francina Evans. They want me to try to hurt her so that they can use that against me to say that I was violent and she had been in danger the whole time. Well, I'll tell you something, you racist piece of shit in the Staten Island District Attorney's Office. You're never going to get me on anything with Francina because I'm not doing anything to her, because I want nothing to do with her, because I want nothing. I want to go nowhere near her, because I don't give a fuck about her. I want to live my life and I want to go on. So you can continue to ignore the fact that a black man is being harassed by the woman you honored, Michael McMahon. But I'm going to do everything in my power to expose your office for the racist, corrupt institution it is. You protect liars to prosecute innocent black men. You are a piece of shit, Michael McMahon. On behalf of Justice and Operation Rock, we're at 30 minutes, people. I'll be back tomorrow with more against the Staten Island District Attorney's Office. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that's where my problem comes from. If the Staten Island District Attorney's Office had arrested Francina Evans in January of 2023 when she filed that retaliatory report against me that they were aware of, none of this would happen. So they are guilty for the harassment. They are guilty for the financial losses I've suffered, and they're going to pay.